You know, I'm one of several that's on our program committee. And over the years, you know, we've always thought, how can we entertain the congregation, the Sangha? We have to bring in good speakers. And we had our guest on our list for the longest time. We just couldn't figure the opportunity we could reach out to him and ask him to come. Last year, at the state lay convention, at the Kailua Hongwanji, Jay was a guest speaker. He was awesome. And then later last year, I believe that, I'm trying to remember, I think it was at the Kailua Hongwanji? You were the moderator of a panel discussion. There were different sects of Buddhism talking. I forget exactly the topic. As a moderator, it was interesting. But I just wanted to kind of read his little biography. He's an alumnus of the University of Hawaii. He received his PhD degree from the University of Stirling in Scotland, where his research focused on contemporary Japanese religions. His work has appeared in newspapers, including MidWeek, magazines, journals, and books. Jay is professor of religion at Leeward Community College and a lecturer at the UH Manoa, where he teaches various religion courses, including those related to Christianity, Japanese religion, and so on. He also writes the column in the MidWeek. It's titled Misfit Spirit. He wrote in this past Wednesday's MidWeek, and if you haven't already read it, I made a copy, and it's on that back table. So, Jay?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of today's service. I had never been to Kailua Hongwanji until today, so this is nice. Now, Valentine's Day will be in a few days. So in honor of the occasion, I thought I'd talk about love, or at least love from the Buddhist perspective. My wife and I will spend our 19th Valentine's Day together. And to be honest, I've run out of affordable gift ideas on what to get her. I'm beginning to think we ought to adopt the Japanese tradition regarding Valentine's Day. In Japan, only the women buy men gifts for Valentine's Day. How is that? That's good. Men buy gifts 1 month later on March 14th. But who cares about that? Valentine's Day, the women. And besides, why do we need to buy a gift every year anyway? Valentine's Day should be like, you know, those frequent shopper carts. You know, you buy 5 Valentine's Day gifts and 1 year you get free, you get a pass. Or in fact, it should be that you just buy 1 Valentine's Day gift and that should last a lifetime. But because of Buddhism, I've learned that nothing lasts. All is impermanent and everything changes. And over the course of 19 years of marriage, things have also changed between me and my wife. When I first got married with my wife 19 years ago in a church in Scotland, I was so in love with her. I wanted us to always be together. I couldn't imagine life without her. Now, I hope she dies first. I blame Buddhism for this change. Most Buddhists in the world don't get married at Buddhist temples. This is a shame, but it's understandable. After all, you don't want to be standing at an altar with the love of your life on this most joyous occasion, and the Buddhist priest tells you, nothing lasts. All is suffering. This may be true, but let the married couple find out for themselves after the honeymoon, when they meet the mother-in-law. And yet, this message that nothing lasts should be conveyed to all married couples. For if a marriage is to be successful, the couple must accept change, appreciate change, in good times and in bad. And this is not true just for married couples, but for all relationships, including those celebrated during Valentine's Day. Now, the number one threat to a long-term relationship is the tendency, the temptation, for one person to take the other person for granted. This is more likely to happen if you don't understand that things change, if you believe that love lasts forever. Things change, and love doesn't stay the same. It shifts, it moves. And so clinging to past ideas of what a person used to be like, or hanging on to feelings that you used to have, but maybe no longer do, will bring about pain. This is where the teachings of Buddhism, I think, come in. This is where I think the teachings of Buddhism can help strengthen, enrich relationships. It is said that the Buddha taught 84,000 teachings. And so I thought I'd take the next 3 hours to go over each of the teachings. So look at your stunned faces. I recognize that look. That's the look that I have when my wife says, happy anniversary, here's your gift, where's mine? It's our anniversary. That stunned look. What? We're hosting tomorrow's service? So let me just go over one of the Buddha's 84,000 teachings. And I'm sure you know this one. It's very popular. This is the 3 marks of existence. And I think for Valentine's Day, it fits nicely with what the Buddha taught in the Sugallabhata Sutta, advice that he gave to married couples. I think the 3 teachings and his advice to married couples fit nicely together. The Buddha taught that all of reality characterized by 3 traits. The first one is suffering. And there are different kinds of suffering. There is ordinary suffering that we all understand and feel. There's physical pain. So I have a bulging disc between the 4th and 5th vertebrae. And so even standing like this is uncomfortable. And some morning it's very difficult. I cannot get out of bed. So there's this ordinary suffering where physical pain, emotional suffering, mental suffering. When I told my wife and son that I'm going to give a talk today and I'd like them to come and listen, the look that they gave me showed me emotional suffering, mental suffering. They pretended to be sick. My wife did, they're both not feeling well. My wife wasn't feeling well from Thursday night, and my son from yesterday. Yeah, but I think it's because they know Sunday I got to talk and they got to listen. So there's ordinary suffering, but the Buddha taught that that is not the most profound level. There's a deeper level of suffering, and that's suffering due to impermanence. What? Why? Because nothing lasts. What does that mean? Whenever you experience joy, right? Think of a happy time in your life. Whenever you experience joy, because nothing lasts, you are already experiencing the loss of joy. The moment you experience joy, you are already experiencing the loss of joy, because nothing lasts. The Buddha taught that there is actually a deeper level of suffering, right? The most profound level of suffering. So the first level, ordinary suffering, physical, emotional, mental pain. Second, suffering due to impermanence. But the deepest level, the most subtle level, is suffering due to conditioned states. And what does that mean? Because things are constantly changing, you don't know what's right around the corner. You don't know what your next phone call is going to be like, what your next text message is going to be. Hopefully, it'll be something good. But there's a chance it could not be. Maybe it's something tragic. I hope not. But you just can't be sure. And so there's something right around the corner. And so there's this unease, right, that we live with, because you don't know what's happening or what's about to happen. Right? And so the Buddha gave advice to married couples. And he said to share responsibilities, to help each other out, because we all suffer. We all go through periods of unease when we're not sure. And how nice it is to have someone to help us to bear the suffering, to suffer with us. Buddhism stresses compassion. And the word compassion, you probably know, literally means to suffer with. Compassion means to suffer with. So how nice is it to have someone who says, you're suffering, I'll suffer with you. I'll help you carry this burden. And from suffering, there is the opportunity for compassion. And from compassion arises gratitude. And how lucky we are to have people that we can lean on to help us bear the suffering. How grateful we are to them that they are in our lives. So suffering is the first characteristic of existence. The second characteristic of existence is impermanence. Some people say, Buddhism is such a pessimistic religion. Nothing lasts, everything is suffering. But Buddhists say, Buddhism is not a pessimistic religion, it's a realistic religion. Because that's just how it is. Things don't last. We all suffer. But if you see, and that's what the word Buddha is related to. The word Buddha is related to the word see. Not physical seeing, but more spiritual understanding. Even in English it works, right? When you finally understand something, you say, oh, I get it, now I see, I see. So some people say, Buddhism is such a pessimistic religion, but Buddhists say, no, it's not a pessimistic religion, it's a realistic religion. And if you see, Buddhism is an optimistic religion. Why? Because things don't last. What? There is a Buddhist saying that I like. Every time, first time, last time. What does that mean, every time, first time, last time? Because things are constantly changing, because things don't last. Every time you experience something, every time you encounter someone, because it's always changing, you are encountering for the very first time. It's always new, because things are always changing. So whenever you experience or encounter, it's the first time. But because nothing lasts, whenever you experience something or encounter someone, you are encountering for the very first time and also for the very last time. Every time is first time, last time. And what's so special about that? Because nothing lasts, every time, first time, last time, each moment becomes special. Each moment is all you have. Each moment is a link to everything that came before and everything that will follow. Each moment is precious. Each moment is to be treasured. And so the Buddha taught couples to be faithful through the changes. Each moment you have the opportunity to recommit yourself to the person, to reaffirm your vow to honor the person, to love the person. Because every time is first time, last time. Every time is exciting. Every time is precious. So the first characteristic of existence, there's suffering. Second characteristic of existence, impermanence. The third characteristic of existence is non-permanent self. And I think this was in verse 9 of the Junirai that we recited this morning. We have no permanent self. I think that was verse 9. I was paying attention. We have no permanent self. Everything is changing, including ourselves. We are constantly changing. If you had a photograph of yourself every day of your life, right? If you had a photo of yourself every day of your life and you laid it out, it would be an Instagram account. No. If you had a photograph of every day of your life, you laid it out, I don't know, across the floor out there on the street. And let's say you randomly picked up a photo, I don't know, day 1000. And then you picked up a photo of yourself at day 1001, and you compared the photos. You'd be hard-pressed to see any difference. But let's say if you picked up a photo of yourself at day 1000, and then walked a little while down and picked up a photo of yourself at day 6000. Now compare the photos. You can see a difference. Right? Buddhism measures time in different ways. There is long, big chunks of time, measured slowly, like kalpa. But there's also these short, micro units of time, called kashana. Sometimes they're imperceptible. You can't see the change until later. But we're always changing. We are always changing. And so I tell my students, if you don't believe this, look at a photo of yourself 7 years ago. Because science will tell you that every 7 years, basically you have a new body. All your cells are been replenished. Right? And so we're constantly changing. And so I got married 19 years ago in Scotland to a young, beautiful woman. That woman's gone. That woman's gone. Now when I wake up in the morning and I look over, that young, beautiful woman has been replaced by someone even more beautiful. I gotta say that. No, it's true. And so the Buddha advised to married couples, be attentive to each other. Be kind to each other. Pay attention to the changes within each other, within yourself. Appreciate, right? Rejoice in the changes. It's ongoing. Right? There is this Winnie the Pooh card that I saw. It's Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, and they're walking. And there's a caption below, and the caption says, how lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard? How lucky we are to have loved ones whose absence will make us so sad. Recently, in my family, we've lost loved ones. My mom passed away 2 years ago. My grandma passed away last year on the very same day. And so, there is this pain. But the comfort that we take is that the depth of our pain, of our suffering, is a testament to the love that we have for the person. You don't really grieve over meaningless relationships. So the quality of the love is reflected in the depth of the sadness. So how lucky we are to have loved ones in our lives whose absence will make us so sad. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. And he was a psychotherapist, and he wrote this very popular book. He passed away about 20 years ago. But he wrote a very popular book called Man's Search for Meaning. Some of you may have heard of this book. And in it, he tells the story of a friend of his who was married for a very long time when his wife passed away. And 2 years after this, Viktor Frankl's friend comes to Viktor Frankl and says, I need help. My wife passed away 2 years ago, and I thought by now I'd be feeling a little better. But if anything, I'm feeling worse. I feel more depressed. I feel more lonely. I feel more heartbroken. I feel more lost. I feel more empty. And I'm scared. I'm scared that I might hurt myself. I don't know what to do. And Viktor Frankl says to his friend, let me ask you a question. Suppose you had died before your wife. What would your wife be experiencing right now? How would she be feeling right now? He said, well, I guess she'd be feeling the same way that I'm feeling. Very lost and alone and scared and empty. And Viktor Frankl says, well, you see, you saved her from that. You saved her from that suffering. Granted, you suffer now, but you are taking on the suffering instead of her. You saved her from that. At that moment, that man's suffering cease to be suffering. Because suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it has meaning, the moment you understand, the moment you see. And so Buddhism gives us a way to understand the reality of life. There is suffering, there is impermanence. We are constantly changing. And this is not pessimistic, as some people say, but optimistic, because it gives us an opportunity to strengthen our relationships. And so for this Valentine's Day, maybe you will be like me. And I will say to my wife, I love you so much. I hope you die first. See what kind of Valentine's Day gift you get. Thank you very much.